our CEO, Airport, and every other member, the Lord is really doing marvelous things with us.
Amen.
God is always looking for willing vessels.
Yeah.
And not just willing vessel of honor. So we thank God. Congratulations for the awesome work you are doing.
Thank you. We've got. Thank you. We've got some wonderful women who have gone through life and been successful, and we are honored to be amongst this group of all of you who have really been successful, and it's great to look up to you.
It's awesome. We thank God.
Yeah.
Every day
guys, we are live now. Feel free to share if you can.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Pastor Jessica.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you again and again.
Thank God for Zoom. Zoom makes us to say as if we are very, very close to each other. This technology is wonderful.
It is indeed.
It makes us not to miss ourselves so much.
Yes.
Because at least every weekend we can see ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so time's up for us to begin. So we are live on Facebook, Women at the Well. And if you have anybody you still have to contact and send the link to, just feel free to send it. Okay, so today, if you don't know who I am, my name is Grace Collingwood. I am a wife, a mother, a registered nurse, and the CEO of Healthy Wealthy Mama. I'm also an executive member of Women at the Well USA. I am honored to hold my position, and God bless you, Pastor Jessica, for seeing whatever you saw in me to think that I can do this job. Thank you for even seeing that in me. And thank God for bringing me to meet you and also all the women on this platform and the men as well. So today's topic is an awesome topic. I am glad and I'm honored to introduce to you our sister, Patricia Kofi, who is a social worker in the United States of America, and she's doing her master's in social work. So our sister is going to talk about conversations around the dinner table. I'm from Africa, and this thing is not a common thing. Even though I introduced it myself to my family and we do it, it's not something that I got it when I was growing up. And most of you have heard me talk about my mom being an awesome person, but this part wasn't part of our family. We cook, the food is sitting in the kitchen, you just go grab yours, you eat. Sometimes you're standing and you finish eating and you just walk out. And so you don't even get the opportunity to talk to your mom or for her to talk to you. So there was not that much of a communication, even though later on she started doing that because my mom reads a lot. So I think that she realized that that really helps. So she started talking to us, but we had grown up and just left home. But I realized that that's a great thing to do. And one thing that I remember that when we are at the dinner table, what I do is that I always have my husband first, and then my kids second, and then my kids, it goes to the oldest, the middle, and the youngest, and then myself. And then there are those days that you're so angry. I'm so angry with my husband, and then the way I'm slapping the food on his plate, But if we didn't have that chance to sit down at a table, he wouldn't even know that I'm angry because you just grab your food, you're gone. But at least that chance gives him the opportunity to see that, no, maybe what did I say? And then we talk about it on the table. So it is something that really works. It is something that really works. For some of us, we just had to start from scratch. For some people, they are going to, those who on here who don't have children, at least by the time you have children, you would have learned so much to be able to teach your children. So today, I would also, before our sister Patricia comes on, I would like to see just a few comments about Dr. Enna Upang, who is on the flyer. She's not here today. This is an awesome woman whom I've known for over maybe about 12 years. Can't remember. Maybe
do this speaker for me.
She was my nursing instructor, nursing school
Thank you.
instructor. She still teaches at the same nursing school I went to. And I reached out to her about this organization, and she right away jumped into it. I've never seen anybody so humble at heart. And I'm so grateful for Dr. Enna Upang. So if you've seen her on the flyer, what we do is that every week we feature one member of Women at the Well on the flyer, and they get to speak and say something about themselves and how WOW has impacted them. I know most of you know her. And yeah, and she's also an author of the book, Joy Comes in the Morning. You can look her up on Amazon, Joy Comes in the Morning. Her name is spelled Enna Upang, E-N-O-H, and the last name is U-K-P-O-N-G, U-K-P-O-N-G. So search for her book. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I read it. It's humorous, it's serious, it's dark, it's bright, it's everything. So please look her up. So we've got our sister Queen Patricia ready to give us this presentation. But our sister, before you go ahead, you know very well that Women at the Well, we are women that believe that we all have a story, right? So can you just tell us briefly about yourself and why you decided to choose social work?
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to thank the CEO, Pastor Jessica Edmond, for such a powerful program that she has. I want to thank the executives, especially Mrs. Grace Calamut, for such a great job. This is really awesome. And I want to just thank everyone here, every member of this amazing group, for your time, for your energy, and all you're doing to support this group. This is a good thing. Like she said, we all have stories. I grew up from a broken home. And not just growing up from a broken home, I didn't have any parental supervision guidance. I didn't have any of these. It was a brother that raised me, actually, a brother and a grandmother. So I grew up without my mom in my life, without my dad, until I grew up and I came here, and then my mom was here for like a while. And I saw the challenge, not having your parents in your life, the struggle that I went through. And I actually wanted to go to law school. So I did my bachelor's in criminal justice. And then somewhere along the line, I realized, no, my gift is not to be in the courtroom, but I have to do social work, because that is where I can actually help people. The things that children like me who lacked parental control, parental guidance, the things that we lose, the things that people don't get. Not having the traditional family is not a joke, is a struggle. So if by the grace of God, I have been able to go through it, and other people have been able to go through it, then I think it's a time that I also give back to the society. So that is how I jumped from becoming a lawyer to being a social worker. So it is very personal to me. I take it personal because I know what it is. I know the damage that it can be, and I know how important it is to get interventions when people are going through such. So that's all I can say about me.
Wow, that's a wonderful, wonderful testimony. When you finish, I would, or maybe you can answer it now before you even start.
Yeah.
Is there any specifics about what you went through as a child? An example of what you went through, or what your mom not being present. It's very common amongst us. I come from a family of 6. My mom and dad got a project in Nigeria. Well, my dad got an architectural project in Nigeria, and he got meningitis whilst they were there. So my father died. So my mother had to carry the body back to Ghana. And obviously those days, family were like the final say, whatever they say goes. And they took properties. My mom only got one property that wasn't even complete, and with the 6 of us, and they had decided to separate all 6 of us. My mom said that's not going to happen, but she was struggling so bad that one of my uncles said that he can bring her to London. So my mom went to London. I was at age, I think I was 8 or so, and all 6 of us stayed with my auntie. And thankfully, we had a wonderful person. And then by the time we joined my mom, I was 21 years old. So none of us really knew my mom. So you could see that she was really struggling. And she's the kind of person that also always wants to put families together and that kind of thing. But it's even till today, it's a struggle. She's doing her best to still be there for all 6 of us, but some have overcome that pain and some have not. You can see that it's really damaged them and they are just not healing well at all. Do you have a story of what you went through during that time that really stood out to you, that said, that for this reason, I really have to do something to help a different generation?
Yes, thank you for that question. I remember back home in Ghana, where we are from, our hometown, because at a very young age, we were at our hometown. And I remember it was like when we go like around people, you can see the difference between the people that had, even if it's like a mother without a father, you can see the difference. It was clear, like disorganized family, and you don't have any supervision, you don't have any control, you don't have, like, you're doing everything on your own. So I saw that a lot, like like my hometown, I saw that people were going with their parents, even if they don't have money, the parents were there. If the family doesn't even have like a mom and dad, like if it's not a 2 parents household, you can see that maybe there's a mother, and that makes a difference. Having 1 parent, having 2 parents, having no parents at all, like all these things have different kinds of impacts on the child life. And not having both and always trying to fit in a society where everybody, like when you have a parent, they treat you differently. I saw that clearly. And then when I came to US at a very young age in my teens, I had to go through everything by myself. At first, the oldest among my siblings, I had to make sure I know how the schooling system is. That was high school. I had to make sure I know how the schooling system was. I had to learn it to be able to help my siblings on my own, because my mom wouldn't even understand it because she hadn't been with us. And she only came to be with us just for us to go to school here. So it was very difficult. And you go to your friends' homes and you see that there is a mom, maybe there's a stepdad, and you see the things they are getting. You don't see that. You don't have that traditional home that there is, maybe there's an aunt, or even if it's a sister or aunt, or all you need is a parental figure in the house. And all that was missed. So I would see my friends, they will have their hair done. I will have to go to my friend's house to do my hair for me for free because I didn't even know how to get things done. But then at that young age, I was a mother. I was doing everything for myself. So I became very strong. And you know, our society, when somebody is strong, they don't understand. Some of these things can make people strong, and then they come out like a strong character, and then we can't stand them. But it's how, because you are kind of independent. So, and I was privileged. I mean, some didn't even have people that were caring for them, because in my situation, money was an issue. It was just not having that parental figure. It was just not having that person that is going to be there and give you the directions, and tell you what to do, not to do this, all those things. So I found myself as a privilege somehow, because some people don't even have the money. Some don't have the father, the mother, and then they don't even have the money to take care of themselves. So in all of that, I still was grateful to God, and I was able to go through it. I resolved through everything, and by the grace of God, I overcame it. So when I overcame it, I realized that people need that help. At least I could have gotten somebody who is like a mentor to even help me with, school and stuff. But the only option I had was the school counselor. So if the school counselor was not helping me, I didn't even know what to do. I was just lost. So I decided to be that voice. I decided to be end the discrimination. In African society, you see that when you don't have that kind of family, you are looked down upon. They always want to give the people that maybe their parents are maybe in the church, their parents are there. They always want to give those people who don't even need that attention. So emotionally, psychologically, mentally, you are damaged. Hadn't been God, you would just find yourself in a bad situation. So I decided to use my life, to use my voice, to help people that are in my situation, people that are in even worse situations, people that need that mentorship, that need that help in terms of social life, mentally, psychologically, whatever you can do to help. That is why I went into social work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God bless you for turning out positively, because
Amen.
some people go through such backgrounds and they are never healed. It's very hard to heal from it, especially when you're a kid and you're innocent and you have no clue what's going on, and all you want is just somebody to validate you. That's all. Somebody to just validate you. And yeah, so I'm very happy that you, despite what you've been through, you are where you are, and you're not just being there, feeling comfortable. You're really doing something to also help other people who might be in the same situation. So to our topic today, an awesome topic, a wonderful, wonderful topic. Why do we have to sit at the dinner table? Isn't it enough that I've provided food for you as a parent? Don't you just come and grab your food, go stay in your bedroom and do whatever you want to do? Why do I have to sit around the dinner table with you? So you can go ahead with the whole presentation, and then when you finish, I'll ask you some questions. And whoever has a question, you can put it in the chat column, and we'll be asking those questions. And also, if you have any questions for when it's time for Ask the CEO, you can also put that question up. So there'll be a question time for two people, for Lady Patricia. So if it's for the presentation, you can make sure you're making it known that that's the question. That's the question for Lady Patricia. If it's for the CEO, also make us aware that that's for the CEO. Okay, so you can go ahead, my dear. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. I want us to look at some of these things, some of these issues. I want us to be able to address them, because it is not just having an issue and then dealing with the issue becomes easy, because it's more psychological. Like I said last time, it's more psychological, mentally, and it causes a lot of damages. So most of these things that we see, some of these behavior issues that we see among our children, like I said last time, I'm going to refer back to last time because I said a lot of things that connect with this. So sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm a bad parent. I did not raise the child the way they should be. Maybe I wasn't straight enough. And a lot of times it's not that we are bad parents. It is not that we are not straight enough. We have done everything. We have told them, do this, don't do this, do this. But some of these little things that we ignore, some of these little things that because it takes time, because it's hectic, we just overlook them. And because sometimes we want to be comfortable, sometimes we're like, okay, I have to go to work. So is this even important? And also the Bible says, I believe Hosea 4:6, it says, lack of knowledge, my people perish. Sometimes it's just what we don't know that caused the whole problem. So we might know, okay, it's good to sit at the table, but we might not know why it's important that we do that. So if we don't know why, the importance of doing that, then we'll not even bother ourselves to even do it. So I wanna emphasize on some of these things, and I want to plead with us, because as we are here, if we are about 20 people on this platform right now, if we ask how many of us are able to do meal time with our children, which today we're going to focus on dinner. So meal time in general, it can be breakfast, it can be dinner. Lunch normally doesn't happen because the kids are in school, but breakfast, if we really want to do it, we can. dinner, if we want to do it, maybe we can based on our schedules. Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not possible, but there are times that we can, but we just don't do it. So the question here is, what are some of the impacts? I'm talking about negative impacts. These things, not doing these things can have on our children. And if these things are negative impact on our children, is it easy to get over it? Is it easy to overcome it? Is it easy to have a solution to them? These are the questions that we ask, and then as we try to answer these questions, then we know how important it is not to take these things for granted. So, mealtime, and we are talking about dinner, having dinner as a family. Is there barriers, especially those of us in the diaspora? Is there barriers? Yes, there are. Is it consequences to not doing it? Yes, there are consequences. Is there anything that causes us not to be able to do it? Yes, there are causes. Is there any effect? Yes, there are effects. So we're going to look at them from 1, 2, 3. We're going to look at some of the reasons why we should do it, the importance of doing it, some of the causes, and some of the effects, and some of the barriers. So research shows that families that sit down together and eat, at least if you can do it twice a day, and you can do it once, let's say dinner, it brings family cohesion. It brings the family together, because at that time, all of us on the table, especially when we have children like, let's say, 3 years old and above, that can understand stuff. When we sit together as a family and we eat, at that time, that is when we can come up with a lot of things. We can communicate as a family. Our kids go through a lot. Excuse my language, but a lot of our Black kids goes through a lot, especially the kids that we have in US and Europe. If we want to be honest, our kids go through a lot. But a lot of times we feel like she's just a kid. She don't have any responsibilities. He's just a kid. He doesn't have any responsibility. But you'll be surprised that your child is struggling in school. You'll be surprised that your child is being bullied in school. You'll be surprised that your child is being discriminated at school. You'll be surprised that your child is going through a lot. We cannot trust these teachers. We can't trust them, because if they are racist to us, they will be racist to our kids. If they are discriminating against us, they will do that to our kids. If they are bullying us at work, they will bully us, our kids at school. So our kids go through a lot on a daily basis. And if we don't open that communication lines and communicate with our kids on the dining table, then they're not going to be able to express themselves. They're going to keep it to themselves. They're not going to bring it out. But having dinner at a specific time, let's say we set a time like maybe like 8 o'clock, based on what time we all get off and what time we get home. I think 8 o'clock is kind of late. Let's like 7 p.m. And then we know that every 7 p.m. we're going to have dinner at the table. All of us, we are going to meet. Then at that time, we can ask our children. I know some of us know already. I know we have our mothers here who already have done it and they know. But also we might have children. Some of you have children that are already mothers. Some of us are grandmothers. I'm not, but I know some of us here are likely to be grandmothers. So even though we know it, our children grew up differently. They have different values. So they might not understand these things. And sometimes we know it, but we don't know the importance of it. We just know, okay, we have to have dinner. But we don't know how it can affect our children. We don't know how good it can be. We don't know the benefits, because it is not our field. I always say, I am not a nurse. I don't know a lot of things about nurse. I don't even know anything about nursing. All I know is they give you a shot. I don't know anything. So I won't assume that I know it. I'll always prefer to have a professional from that background to give me details, because they always know more than what we know, regardless of how much research we do. So when we open up the communication lines at the dining table, that is when we can ask our children questions. What happened at school today? I know we can do it at any time when we are driving, and I know we have a lot of means that we do it, and I'm not going to impose any of my values on anyone, because we are not supposed to. But I'm just saying what maybe somebody might need that suggestion, maybe somebody might need that view and try and see if that will work. So one of the things that is the benefit of having a dinner with a family at a certain time is communication. It opens up communication for people to talk. If there is any conflict among siblings, if there is any conflict, I know Mrs. Grace, Mrs. Collerwood mentioned one, and that was interesting. That was very open and that was interesting. I think that's common among most of us. So it bring the family into cohesion, like it's bring the family into, they become united. At that time, they can talk about a lot of things. Everyone is comfortable. You are eating. You're not stressed out. You are free, and you can talk about a lot of things. So that is the one communication. It opens up communication line for the family. Two, it brings discipline. If the child knows that, if your children know that mommy and daddy, we have a certain time that we eat dinner every day. If it's 7 p.m., we need to be there. We are teaching these children how to be disciplined. And that is very important. If our children are disciplined, it saves them from a lot of problems. It saves them from a lot of problems. Self-control issues are less because they know that, okay, there's a time that we have to be here. And at that time, they are going to be there. You don't have to force them to be there because you've set that thing rolling, and every day they know they have to be there. So I talked about communication. Discipline is two. A good eating habit. A good eating habit. Healthy food. When we are eating from home every day or most of the times, we are eating healthy food because we are cooking from the home. Mostly, even if we are ordering something from outside, it's not going to be a lot of times. If we are eating from home, the chances that we are going to cook is very high, looking at our backgrounds and where we are coming from. So good eating habits and discipline. So with that, there is more likely that there will be a healthy outcomes. You know, the family is not going to have a lot of health issues because you are eating good. There is the coping skills. That alone is a coping skills. Maybe the family is going through stress. Maybe one of them is going through stress. That alone, eating on the dining table as a family at a certain time can be a coping skill. It can be a coping skill for stress. It can be a coping skill for social skill. It can be a coping skill for a lot of things. And I believe we know what social skills is. I believe we know what coping skill for stress is. So when we are together as a family, it makes the family feel comfortable, especially the children. They're able to open up to tell us the things that they would never tell anyone. It makes it easier for them to eat healthy and grow healthy. It helps our children to develop well. Developmental outcomes are great. The chance that it will be better is high. The chance that our kids are going to be emotionally sound is really high because around that table, a lot goes on. And we're talking about consistency. Every day, you know, this time I have to be on the table. It also brings bonding. I already said family cohesion, and is connected to bonding, family bonding. The family knows that, okay, we have to be at the table this time, and we are all there. Also, it saves the family money because we all are aware that when we eat outside, we spend a lot of money. One, our health issue, there's going to be health issues if we keep eating outside. So if we have that done time set and we are eating from home and we are coming together as a family and we are eating, you will know that you will save money, you'll be bonded together as a family. So these are all good things that happens. You know, so when we are looking at all these things, even some kids are delayed. Some kids genetically, they come and they have developmental issues. At the age where they're supposed to eat, talk, where they're supposed to do certain things, they are not able to. But when we have time together and we have meal on the table together, they can build that communication, that skill, that language skill. It can be easier as we communicate around the table, as we sit down around the table, and it even helps to build self-confidence, self-esteem. These are very important. These are very important to social workers because everything begins with self-confidence, self-esteem. If your child doesn't have self-esteem, they're not going to do well in school. The chances that they're not going to do well in school is low. It's high. the chances that the child that don't have a high self-esteem is going to do bad at school is very high. So we build self-confidence on the table when everyone is talking, when everyone is, even if it's not talking, like we are communicating, non-verbal communication, all kind of communications. And they see the parents spending time together, because research shows that middle-class families are less likely to spend time with their families, especially having meal time with families, because they mostly work from 8 o'clock in the morning to about 5 p.m. By the time they get home, they are tired. Actually, low-income families, research says that they even can spend more time with their families than middle-class families. And when you look at that, it's scary, because most people have that schedule where they go to work 8 and they come home 5. So just imagine that higher percentage not being able to have that dinner time with their families. Just imagine what can happen with these children. Most of the time, we don't see our kids because we are working more, especially the healthcare workers. I know most of us in the diaspora are healthcare workers, nurses, pharmacists, doctors, and those families is the chance that they can even be home with their kids is just slim. Mostly they have nannies, they have people that take up their kids, they are not home. So can we make use of the little time we can spend with our kids? Yes. Do we have barriers, like I said earlier? Yes, but can we focus on our strength? The chances that we have, the little time that we can spend with our children, can we make that time a quality time with our kids, even if it's a weekend to have that meal, even if it's a weekend to have that dinner time with the family? I think it will go a long way. That one day in a week that we are able to have, let's say you are a health worker, let's say you are somebody who works a very busy schedule, but that one day, maybe that 2 days in a week, if you are able to have that meal time, that dinner time with the family, and a quality one, I believe that can make a difference, because we are talking about emotional stress. We are talking about psychological. We are talking about, because those are the things that is so hard to erase. Once our children go through that emotional damage, that psychological damage, that mental damage, it becomes so hard for us. We can do a lot of things. We can do therapy, we can do counseling, we can do a lot of things, but it becomes so hard to just clear those things off. So I just want to say that let us try all we can. Let us look at the barriers. Some of the barriers are the times that we are home, our working times, the family. Some of us are single parents. Some people don't have, some people are not two household families, single parents. But I always say it is not about you being a single parent. It is not about you being a divorcee. It's not about you having that job. All it's about is determination. Determination. You determine to have it done. You determine to use your time wisely. That little time that you have, that one day in a week that you have, that Saturday that you have to spend with your children, whether you are a healthcare worker who is busy, whether you are how do you call it? You are in ministry, and mostly those in ministry are also busy. But the little time that we have, if we can focus on the strength, social workers will always tell you we work with strength. You might have 100 weekends, but we will look at that one strength, and we will use that strength to work with people to bring them to where they're supposed to be. So I just want to say that I've talked a lot, but I want to say that I know there are benefits, and I've mentioned few benefits. Eating habits, it will be healthy eating habits, discipline, family bond, how do you call it? Communication, building self-esteem, building low self-control, saving money as a family. All these things, we are talking about one thing, but all these things are benefits of it. And having children that are sound emotionally, psychologically, being able to know what goes on in the lives of our children. I talk about these things with passion because I know how serious these things are. I was just telling someone today that some of these things, we are so easy to attach to spiritual things, or somebody has done something to my child. It is most of the times it's not what somebody has done spiritually. It is psychological, mentally, and emotional issues. Once that thing has registered in that child's mind, psychologically, emotionally, it's going to disturb that child. The child is going to have issues, behavior issues. And all these things come back to what we are talking about today. So you see how it looks like it's just a penny out of billions. It's like 1 penny out of billions, but it has a lot of damages. It has a lot of consequences. It has great effects if we do not do it. It's like you've put in water in a bottle and you see that there's a hole somewhere. Criminal justice, there's a term they call it broken window. If something is dropping little, and you don't pay attention, by the time you realize all the water in the bottle is gone, and it becomes so hard to fix it. I always make mention of this. A lot of people in the jail, in the prison, a lot of people in the jailhouse, a lot of people in the custody of social services, a lot of cases that are going through mental health issues. It begins with some of these little issues that we are not aware. Again, lack of knowledge, my people perish. So I want to say that let us pay attention to some of these things, because the earlier we catch them and we intervene, the better we can. If we are not able to catch them early at the dining table, as we talk with our kids and know the things they are going through in school, and know how they've been discriminated against, and know the struggles they are going through, by the time we realize some kids have already committed suicide, some kids have already joined the gang, because when they join the gang, they are going to make them feel good. That's the funny part. And you will lose your child. Again, one of the benefits of having the dinner time with family is a better mental state. The kids mentally sounds well, and that prevents mental health issues. So I've talked about some of the barriers. Our background sometimes is a barrier. Sometimes our work schedule, our school schedule, our family, how do you call it? Our marital status, all of these things can be barriers, but we cannot let the barriers stop us, because there is always a way. We have to look at our strength, what we have in our hands, and then use what we have to turn situations around, so that it will not be a generational thing. Because if we are not able to do it today, our kids will not be able to do it. And it will become a cycle. And our generation will face this problem, and the consequences, the effects, some of them that I've already mentioned, it will continue going. So I will stop here. If anyone has a question for me, I'll be more than able to try and answer the question. If there is anything that I did not cover and you have a question about, feel free to ask, and I'll be more than happy to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As usual, you've done a great presentation of that topic. It's an awesome opportunity to have you speak with passion and with the knowledge that you have and with your background. I really appreciate it. I think I made a mistake when I said you're a grad student and you're doing your master's. Is it PhD or master's? Did I get it wrong?
It's master's.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
I just wanted to be sure. All right. So if anybody has any question, please put it in the comment. Ask our sister if you have any question. It's never too late. If your kids are older, it's never too late. You can start anything, anytime, anywhere. And our motto for Women at the Well is anything, where anything and everything is possible, including your own thing. So it doesn't matter how old your kids are or how you've never done it before. It's never too late. You can really start it. So what I do, like when I introduce myself, is that I coach women. What I do in my coaching includes such things: sitting down and having family dinners, communication, the kids. I mean, we work, especially immigrants, we work like there's no tomorrow. I know I've done it before. Previously, I used to do it, and I was like, no, this is not for me. And I'm somebody that always sits down and assess things that I'm doing. Everything that I'm doing, I'm assessing it. Is it working? If it's not, I'm bold enough to just stop it. It doesn't matter where I've reached, I will stop it and make sure that I have a different plan that works better for me. I remember I was working 12-hour shifts. So it's usually 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I would get home, my husband would have gotten the kids ready for school. I'll get home, I'll quickly do whatever, maybe just help out, and then he would take the kids to school and then go to work, and then I'll sleep, and then in the afternoon I'll go pick them up, and then I'll get them ready, and then in the evening I'm going to work. I'm like, and I'm looking at the bank account, and I'm like, seriously, is this the life? You know, I didn't even have time to talk to these kids. And here I was teaching other people. My first job was as an early intervention specialist, teaching women or parents how to raise their kids and how to be there for them and whatever. And this is me running around doing 12-hour shifts, not being home for the kids, and always sleepy. I remember the days that I would work night shifts on Saturdays. We used to live in Michigan, and the church was like almost 45 minutes to an hour away from where we live. And my husband was the presiding elder, if you know the Church of Pentecost, how it is. So a pastor oversees several churches, but each church has a presiding elder, like the elder that's in charge of that particular church. So basically, you're almost the pastor of that church. And my husband was the presiding elder of this church. So he would be playing the keyboard and I'll be singing. And when I would have finished a 12-hour shift. Oh God, I don't know how we survived that. I would finish a 12-hour shift, get home, and he would have had the kids ready. I would don't even sleep. I would just have a shower. I hop into the car and then sleep on my way to church. I get there, I have to wake up by force and sing worship and praises. And this was a new church that they had opened. So we were the new ones, and we were not ready to make this church, for them to close the church. It was not going to be on our heads. So we had to do everything possible to make this church work. You know, and I was, 12-hour shifts, and I was sleeping in the car, and then I'll wake up, do my makeup in the car. And that's when I knew how to really hold my hand and do makeup when the car is moving. And we'll get there. I'll do worship, you'll do praises, you'll play the keyboard. And I mean, we had, it was a wonderful church. There were young people from colleges who were coming. But I looked at myself and my family. I'm like, what is this kind of lifestyle? This is not working. And at the time too, I had started, right after that, I also started a PhD program, going to the second year. I told my husband, I said, listen, this is not for me. I'm stopping. Up until this day, he and my mom can't believe I just quit PhD. I said, if I want to do it, I'll do it later, but not now. You have to come to a point where you know yourself, this is not working for me, especially for immigrants. We can educate ourselves to the point where we are bankrupt and we are still going to school. And our kids are not getting enough of our time. It's just too much. And the people that I coach, these are the things that I show them. And even if, and the funny thing is, it doesn't matter how many hours you do as a nurse. You can only do as much. You can't do beyond what? 50 hours, 60 hours. You can't do beyond that, and the money, where does it even go? It's a matter of that little that comes into your hand, how much you're managing it, and being there for your family. And there are other opportunities in our day and age. That's what I told my husband. I said, in this day and age of internet marketing, internet work, people are just like last time Dr. Wacheke said, people are slurping noodles on YouTube and getting paid millions, little kids. It's a matter of aligning yourself with the right people who understand the system, who can coach you or teach you where to do certain jobs. You're in the comfort of your home. So I'm really happy that you brought this topic up. It's something that I've always passionately been doing, helping immigrant women like myself. I've been through it and it never helped me. And I'm happy that I stopped at the time where there was no damage done to my children. And even now, sometimes once in a while, I have to travel and do some work and come back, but we have a consistent time. They know that this is the time that you have to have showered. By 8:30, you're all in your bed reading a book. By 9 o'clock, we are praying, you're going to sleep. By morning, they have that routine. And I'm happy that I realized that this is not working. And they are mostly women on here. Women have got this wonderful instinct that we know that if things are not working, we are able to know things that will work. But I think sometimes we just we ignore that instinct, or we are not really developing that gift in us, that we know that something is not right, but we just go ahead and continue doing it, you know. So I'm really, really happy for the point that you've raised. Godwin said, very insightful. Yeah, thank you very much. So if anybody has any question, please let our sister know. So do you have anything to say to those who have missed the chance of, I think maybe last time you mentioned it in your presentation, concerning those who have missed that chance of, maybe the kids are older, how can they really draw them from their rooms to come sit at the dinner table to start something? Because they're gonna think it's funny. What is going on? What's up with mommy today? Why is she calling me? You know, they're gonna think it's not it's odd. What would you say to the mothers to encourage them as to how they can be firm in their decision? I mean, from hearing this, they've got the information now as to what to do. But if they encounter any challenge, do you have anything for them as to how they can be successful at it?
I think that would depend on how old the child is. If the child is still at a point where you can where corrections can be made, I think that would be to show more love and to be patient with the child, because there hasn't been that routine. So if you're going to start it now and the person is like, maybe like, let's say like a 10-year-old, 11, 12 years old, it is going to be difficult, because like I said last time, research shows that at the age of 10, above 10 years old, the child has already formed their personality and they already have what they want to have. So it becomes very challenging. At that time, you only pray that God will touch the heart of that child, and then you'll be able to show more love. I think at that point, you want to show more love, because it's going to be very challenging. That's not the time to be, again, that's not the time to be calling the child names. You're a bad child, you are stubborn, because we should be guilty. One, I'm not saying be guilty and live with it, but we should be guilty for once and say, okay, I know accountability. That's how I'll put it. I know I did something wrong, because the moment you accept that you did something wrong, that's when you can correct it in love without making the child depressed. So it would take time, but I believe with love and with the right things, prayers, I believe that is possible to be done. But like I said, love, that at that point, you have to do everything with love. If that child is already missed that point, if that child has passed that certain age where it becomes difficult, you just have to be patient with the child and show the child more love. And I believe that will work. You can also get counseling. If at that point, the child is already going through stuff, I always say counseling, therapy. It's something that we need to be comfortable with. There is nothing wrong with it. I almost got depressed when this COVID started, because as a social worker, you already stressed that, because you are taking care of people all the time. So self-care is something that we don't take it for granted. So my family will go on vacations, we will go sit somewhere and eat, maybe on weekends. But COVID-19 came and we were not able to do that. As a Christian, my mind was prepared spiritually that nothing is going to happen to me. So I didn't have that problem. But psychologically, I realized I was getting depressed. So I had to come down, sit myself down, talk to myself. And with all that I even know, I still almost got depressed. So kids are getting depressed because of this COVID, especially with kids that were struggling academically before the COVID. They're already struggling, and now they are home and they are struggling more. So kids are going through all of these things, and that is why it's even important that we sit at the table and talk with these kids. Because believe me or not, if you bring 5 kids, we will have 2 of them that are getting depressed, and you might not even be aware of it. You might not even be aware of it to even help that child. You might think they are just not doing well in school, but a lot is going on because of this COVID. So it's better we get counseling. It's better we get therapy. Once in a while, we can just get it. It's nothing. There is no stigma attached to getting therapy. I mean, you don't have to be sick to get it. If you know it's too much, at a point where it's too much, you can just get that help. So I encourage that if we can, if the case, and luckily we are in a place where we have insurance from our workplaces, those that qualify for Medicaid and these government benefits of insurance, it's free. You don't even have to pay money. If you don't qualify for the government one, by the grace of God, we have jobs, we have insurance. So let's just make use of those things and take advantage of therapy and do counseling and try our best to make sure our kids, their mental health is very important, because everything starts from there is intact.
Thank you. Do you have anything to say to moms or dads whose kids are older and are not even at home and never had that chance to do that? How can they, is there like something that you can suggest to them, like a plan to always hold something? I know a family that always has a Zoom meeting every week. I think when COVID started, but before then, it was a family meeting that wherever they were, some of them had married, some of them were at college, but it was like their parents, they had to go to their parents. But during COVID, they are doing the Zoom one. Do you have anything for parents whose kids are not home to at least start something like this? Because the communication is very important, whether the kids are old or young, it's very important. Do you have any suggestion for them?
Sure. I believe we all have heard about this LGBT thing going on. It's everywhere. It's a big issue right now. Gangs, like I'm using that as an example because I know that is something that is now is a big deal. And parents are getting worried. And even the media is making it worse. Another reason for us to be able to sit on the dinner table with our kids to make sure they understand what these things are, especially when they are at that age where they understand. African parents, we think they shouldn't know. Sometimes we think the kids shouldn't know, but they already know it from the school. So I believe at a certain stage, we should let these kids know what our beliefs are, what we believe in this. These people are not bad people, but we won't do this. That doesn't mean you should disrespect them. Like that conversation. And I'm bringing that in because there are kids that are out of home now, they're in college. Maybe they're not even in college, they are on their own, maybe in their 20s. And they've suffered, they didn't have these things that we are talking about today. And maybe the effect is now to a point where there is nothing a mother can do about it. Some of them are in their marital homes. There are men that are married and there's a lot of issues with their partners, not because they are crazy, but some of these things that we are talking about today, the impact of these things, the effect is so, I don't even know how to put it. And a lot of people are going through marital issues because of these things that we are mentioning today. So with that, what I would say is if the child is not married, maybe they are on campus for school, maybe they are out there working, what we can do, I will keep mentioning support system because that is a huge one. That is a huge one. We need to be there for our families, especially our children, our spouses, even if they are 30 years old and they are not in the house, even if they are married, as long as they remain our children and they are alive, support system. Because we already have maybe done something wrong. And it's always something that a parent has done wrong. Like Mrs. Cole said, there are something that we didn't know. And it's not that we want to do it, but at the time, maybe we didn't know. So we just make that mistake. I have my own, we might have our own, but at that point, the support system, you want to be there for that person. No matter what anybody is going through, no matter the impact of what has gone on that person's life. Once the support system is great, it does great. It really becomes a strong tool to helping the person get better. So if in their college and they are struggling, maybe academics, maybe they are doing drugs, maybe they are doing these things that we've mentioned earlier, the best way is to be there. I know our culture, sometimes we don't want to hear certain things, but if you don't want to hear, it's going to get worse. And I know, I want to say And I know that we have our mothers here, and they know more than I know. They know more than I know. So we are here to just remind ourselves, and again, just echoing on the fact that these are very serious issues that we can't take for granted anymore. So the support system, and those that are already married, let's say we have kids that are already grown now and they're married, we need to understand, especially when their spouses are starting to complain, let us understand what has gone on while they were young and work with their spouses. Work with their spouses to help them, give them that help, because the damage has already been caused. It's not going to take one day. Like I always say, the Bible has already said that we should train up a child the way they should go. And once they grow up, they will not depart. That is the word of God, and every word of God is yes and amen. So once it's the word of God, it will come to pass. So it's something that is true. So it's better we accept that, okay, our family member is going through a challenge, whether they are married or not. And then we work with, whether it's a roommate, whether it's a spouse, work with them for the benefit of our family, for the benefit of your child, for the benefit of your sister, just to help them. Because trust me, believe it or not, that there is always transformation when there is a great support system. There is always transformation when we do it with love, and there is always transformation when the person can trust us. So that's what I would say when the person is already old and they're not under our care any longer.
Okay. Thank you very much. So if anybody has any question, okay.
Yes, please. I also want to know, this topic, let's also focus on African culture. We Africans, we have different cultures, especially when it comes to having a get-together with family, especially in this aspect we are talking about dinner or food or whatever it is. In our culture, we always want to respect our parents. And that respect is usually, oh, daddy is served food to eat alone. Children also will be served in a separate place. Those days, they dare not even come near where the father, even if he's watching TV, you see us peeping just to watch. We won't come and sit down with your father in the same either parlor or somewhere to watch TV. We peep just because of the respect and the fear, of our culture, the relationship between parents and children in our African culture or Nigeria. Let me narrow it down in Nigeria. I don't know. I know African culture, mostly they are almost the same. We always have that respect. We seem to reference our parents. We don't eat together with them. We don't sit and discuss with them. We have that fear. And we are brought up to know that fear like that is like respect for our parents. And in this, because I know in Western world, this is is okay. It's very okay. Though that now we have started, imbibing on most of these things. In our own culture, we started bringing them in. But in those days, most of us here probably are brought up in such a way that you dare not sit down in the same table with your father and even your mom cannot even sit down with the husband to eat. In some cultures, I remember where I married to, their culture is if the woman finish, preparing the meal and all that, the husband sit down, then you bring the food, then the water to, if the man, if it's something that you need to use his hand, if the man need to, eat that food and all that, you need to kneel down and bring the washing basin, for you will kneel down until he finishes washing his hand. Yeah, then you will not take the water back. Then you will just sit down watching him eat the food. After eating the food, you also bring the water. You have to kneel, he washes his hand, and you go back, then you remove the food. So like in this kind of, how do we, in such cultures, that just, if not, thank God for, new ways, new technology, social media, education, seminars like this, talks like this, that is throwing light into most of these things. But in some society, it's still going on till today. So please, how do we, how do we actually impart this so that they will not look at it as if you are disrespecting the parents or disrespecting our daddies or mommy? Most people that are abroad now, they were all brought up that way before they either travel, and they are seeing different things altogether. So how do we now bring it back home to begin to make such corrections that it won't look as if we're interfering in our culture or trying to introduce rudeness and all that? Do you think it's going to be possible? Is it something that is achievable?
That's a good question. Ma, God bless you so much, because what Mama just said is very, very important. And sometimes when I sit down and I look at the things that is going on in our juvenile system, in our criminal justice system, in our social services, I think it's not even big deals. It's some of the things that Mama is just saying. There's something called, and I believe we all know, cultural competency. And as a social work is something that we are very, very careful with. Because if I am African and I'm serving someone who is born in the UK, I'm not going to impose my African value on that person, especially when I'm in UK. So I think we have good culture. I decided to keep my culture, and sometimes people get confused when I tell them I went to high school here, because I saw some good stuff. But also I realized that the kids that I used to work with at my school, the clients that I have, African kids are always different. They are very, you see the timidity. And I got worried. So I began to talk with some of the parents, because you can see the difference. They are not themselves. Most of them, you will see they don't feel comfortable. It looks like they are aliens. They are not even, and these are kids that are born here in the US. These are kids that are born in the UK. These are the kids that are born in Germany. So once we don't draw the line between, okay, I'm African, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, I'm Cameroonian, I am this. But the child that I have given birth to is not Nigerian, it's not Ghanaian. This child is a child born in UK. He's a child born in America. So if I use my culture to raise that child, one, you might let that child might be struggling, because it's going to be hard for the child to fit in. Because when they go to school, they spend so much hours in school, and their friends, they don't fit in. And when they come home, they are not going to fit in too, because they are not Ghanaians, they are not Nigerians. So I think there has to be a place where we'll meet. A pastor's wife wrote a book, and the title is Two Worlds at War. I recommend that book, because that struggle, like I said last time, research, they are saying that immigrants are the reason the crime rate is high. And research is saying that is not true. It is never true. But the children of immigrants are likely to go in that route, because parents don't understand the children. We feel like they don't respect. And sometimes it's not that they don't respect, but it's the culture they are born into. And sometimes we force our culture on these kids. We don't try to balance it, and they become confused. And they will end up on the street. We have children in the home, they don't even talk to us because they are not happy with us. So we have to find a balance. And I think that book is, if Auntie Grace can put it in the chat, I think that book I read it, and I think it's a very good book. So we have to come to the middle. And we have to, if we are in America, if we are in UK, and we have families coming to visit, we have to do it, we have to come to the middle, because we cannot ignore the kids and try to do it in the African way. They might get lost. So I believe we have to get to the middle where there is respect. The kids are not going to be disrespectful. They're going to be confident. They're going to have that high self-esteem. They're going to be bold when they go among their friends. They're going to be able to do the things their colleagues, their peers are doing in school. They're going to be comfortable, and they're not going to be timid. So I think what Mama said is very important. Let us try to balance it, come to the middle, and know that we cannot raise these kids with our culture. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes it's just by the grace of God that child is already good. Some kids are just so good. So we might think, oh, I used the African trick and it worked. But most of the times, if you find yourself to have a child who is a born leader, and you're not careful, you will lose your child. Instead of us guiding the child, we rather lose the child because we want to impose every African culture. As a social worker, I have been taught, I have been warned, the core values are that I cannot impose my values on anyone. So I can't come to you and tell you, Auntie, you have to do it this way. If I come and you are sitting excuse my language, in your pee, and that's what you prefer, I have to let you sit in there and guide you rather. So I believe we can use that strategy to also help our children. We are not going to work them do bad things, but we have to find a battleground, like the woman write about the book, and then balance the culture, pick that good African culture and combine it with the Europe one, with the US one, so that our kids, of course, they're always different because their parents are Africans. So it's not going to be like the American kids. And even at the table where we have visitors, even Americans, white Americans, African Americans, they will let the children, they will excuse them. So that one, I think, is not cultural thing. I think it's just something that we all do. But most importantly, there has to be a balance. We have to try our best to make sure we don't tell the kids, you have to do it my way, because that don't work. That child is going to be angry, and he or she is not going to say anything to you because they're under you. So you end up saying that your child is out there. They are not talking to you, and you will lose them to something that at the end of the day, you wish it hadn't been that way. So that is what I would say. I hope I was able to answer the question. If not, let me know. If there is more that I have to add, then I'll add.
Yeah, I think I think what Our Lady was trying to say was in Nigeria or in Africa, not a child born in US or in UK or in Europe. I think a child born in Africa. I think that was what she was trying to.
By that, oh, okay. So you're talking about this happening in Africa?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Okay, if it's happening in Africa, then we have to look at the culture where we are. If it's in Africa, we already know that when we're having conversation, maybe kids are not supposed to be around, but at the same time, we still have to include everyone on the table. Maybe that conversation, if it's not appropriate for the child, maybe we shouldn't just have that conversation. Maybe we can have that conversation some other day, but encouraging the eating, the dinner time, the meal time with the family should always be. So maybe the only thing we can do to adjust it is to make sure when we are on the table, or if we, because of the culture, we want to have the kids, maybe we have our cousins and other families and there are lots, we can just group the kids on one side. Maybe I'm just suggesting that. And then the grown-ups will also be at one side, if that will work. But like I said, it always has to be, I myself, I'm lost in Ghana. I don't fit in when I go to Ghana, so I might not have the clear picture of how it is. But based on what the culture looks like and what will probably work, I think we can just do that. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
like to say something in that regards. Please. When it comes to Nigeria, Africa, as a whole, based on the question our mommy asked, I would suggest that time is changing now, and the only permanent thing is change. As a women of the world, one of the things that we do here is also trying to bring our women up to the time and season. It's true what she said. I experienced it. My dad as well. When she eats in those days, he's calling us to come and take the plate that he would balance and use his leg to move the table. That's the way he calls you. And we're already waiting. We will run to take it because there was something is left in the plate. But it does but now, I don't think that he will be able to do that now. However, even if he does that now, it is our own duty. We shouldn't just train our own children like that, because that's a way of also demeaning our children. So as a woman of the world, connecting to this particular platform where we learn every day, when we rub mind with outside world, it's important also for us to know that this is good, this is wrong. I believe that most of us, the way we are being trained, is just that the grace of God that changed us. Like, if we're looking at the way we're being flogged, punished, even the cobra punishment in school, even our elder people beating us and hitting us, we use it to compare now. We would have been dead before now. However, the grace of God preserved us that we are able to see things differently
Amen.
in this time and season. So it is also good for us to look at the balance the culture, look at what works and what doesn't work. And also when we do things like this, let us not just resist because it's culture. Let us also ask for the help, with the help of the Holy Spirit, to know what works now and how best to make our children know how to live their life comfortably and without missing it as well. More importantly is to imbibe in them that norm, that respect, that self-esteem, being yourself without having to be anybody else, and at the same time making them feel enlightened, connecting them to outside world. Should they come here for education? That's another way. What I would just suggest that not just sitting down in Nigeria doing it the way it's been done. Now we have Zoom. Now we have internet. Now we have Facebook. We didn't have that about 20, 30 years ago. Now we can make use of all those things to know exactly what happened. Before, we only know hear what newspaper wrote. We only hear about what the news tells us. But now, at the comfort of your home, you can speak and the whole world will hear you as you're speaking. Live Facebook, live on Instagram, live on YouTube. You can also make your own comments and your own suggestion and your own opinion and can be heard. It's not just only the president or the governor alone. And also you can, yeah, of course, yeah. So that is the time we are in now. So also, it is also important for us to also help our children to connect with the outside world, you know, to be enlightened, to know what is. You never can tell. Nigeria can be better than abroad. Africa can be better than America. Nothing is impossible with God. All things are possible, including our own thing. God bless.
Yes. Including our own thing. I love that line. Every time I hear that line, I just love it. Everything is possible.
Anything is
Everything
possible.
and anything is possible, including your own thing. Thank you very much. I have one more comment. So with regards to communication around table. So most of us on this line are immigrants and we still speak our language. At home, I speak my language with my husband, but my kids have no clue. And sometimes people have these comments that, hey, speak your language to your kids and they will understand it. They'll be able to speak it and whatever. So the funny thing is, those who usually say that have one, either not had children here who have grown up and cannot understand the language, or they brought their children from back home and the kids were able to keep the language. So they think that everybody's kid should be able to speak their language. And then they compare us with the Spanish people, the Chinese people. I did my own research. What I realized was that the Spanish kids can read and write their language. The Chinese people who speak their language in foreign lands can read and write their language. People from Ghana, even not all of us can even read or write our language. We just speak it. Why? Because of the environment we grew up in. If these kids are not growing up in an environment where the language is not spoken and they cannot read or write it, there's no way they'll be able to understand it when we speak to them. So I made a decision not to confuse my kids, because I remember my son went to Ghana for some time, and when he came back, he was speaking clear Chi, and everybody was like, wow, Mom, you've done a great job. Within 2 years, it was just, 2 years, it was all gone. And he couldn't even understand it, because for the most part, it's English. And if I'm talking to my husband, he doesn't think I'm talking to him, so he doesn't understand my language. And like I said, if they cannot read or write it, there's no way they can be able to speak it. So I don't really impose families speaking our language. It's up to them if they want to. And now we've also got a tutor who's teaching them to read and write Chi, because we want them to speak it. But for parents who are immigrants, and now we are saying that we have to sit around the table and these parents want to speak their language and want to teach their language, the kids the language, they'll get frustrated and they won't even want to come to the table. What would you want to say to parents about the language? Because that's a big barrier for immigrant parents.
I think there is a purpose for being at the table for the dinner, and that basically is for the kids. So it has to be a language the kids can speak and understand. If the household, if they speak, what I believe if the kids speak English, just English, then the parents will definitely speak English. Even if they don't speak English, they will still be able to communicate. So it has to be their normal way of communicating in the house, basically, because you want to make sure that the purpose for which that dinner table is set for is being accomplished. And that can only be accomplished by speaking one language. So if mom and dad are speaking Yoruba and the kids are speaking English, there's not going to be any there can be verbal communication, non-verbal communication, but then how are you going to communicate? Depending on what you want to achieve each day. So I believe that language has to be common among the family, the kids and the parents have to have same language. If you speak Yoruba and the kids understand it, because some kids, when you speak your language, they understand. They'll just speak back English. So that shouldn't be a problem. That situation whereby the mom or the dad cannot speak English. If I speak my tree and the kids understand it, that shouldn't be a problem. But like me, my younger one doesn't understand any tree language. The older one understands, but she won't speak back. I mean, she will speak back. She won't speak back, but she will speak back in English. So if that works for the family, it's always what works for the family. So if that works for the family, fine. If not, then something else has to be done. But I'm sure the same way we communicate around the house will be what we do at the dinner table. Has that answered your question, Ms. Grace?
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So as there are no more questions, I don't see any questions in the comments. I actually can just read some of the comments. Felicity says, I think the old culture still remains the best. The new English culture is what is causing all the bad things going on in the world right now. Okay, we respect everybody's opinion. Grace Wafo says, not the one women will kneeling down for their husband. I guess she was trying to say that the culture has changed. I think this was typed when Pastor Jessica was speaking. I think she was trying to mention that the culture of a woman kneeling is no more. So yeah. Okay. So it's now time for Ask the CEO. Ask the CEO. If you have any question for Pastor Jessica, who just spoke, please put it in the comment. I have my own question for Ask the CEO segment. Thank you so much, Sister Patricia. You always bring your big game. I love women like that. They're like serious with what they do. You know, I tell my kids, I'm like, nothing but the best. Just do whatever you do, nothing but the best. That's how you are. You do nothing but the best. You bring your A game. You're knowledgeable about what you do. You're passionate about it. It's a calling. Keep up the good work. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being part of Women at the Well. So with regards to the book that you mentioned, Doctors Mike and Dr. Cynthia Potiphie, we used to be in the same church when I think, yeah, I was pregnant with David when they were getting married. So I know them personally. I have even spoken with Dr. Cynthia to come and speak to us concerning Two Worlds at War. It's an awesome book that she balances, she sort of brings parents' mind to the fact that
I think Grace is frozen up. And she was mentioning the book Two Words at War, which the woman was trying to balance. I don't know, I've not read it, but I'm going to get it. However, it actually asks the CEO time. I think it will be opportunity for anyone that has questions to either type it on the chat or get ready to ask. And she'll be coming in back as soon as possible. Unfortunately, she says she got a question. I don't have the question now, but we can take any other question. Ask the CEO is a segment where if you have anything to ask, general question, whatever you want the CEO to throw light on, either on the topic we are speaking or about the charity or the things that we do or personal thing that you want the CEO to talk about. So we decided to make it at least I take 1 or 2 questions every week instead of us piling it up to take a whole segment to begin to ask. So we give people as many times as possible. And this is our own dinner table now. As the CEO, we can communicate, we can relate. It doesn't necessarily have to be what we talk now. It can be what we talked about now. It can be your concern regarding women at the world. It can be something that is bothering you. Just feel free to make your voice heard. And just like Sister Patricia said earlier, I will also try my possible best. With the help of the Holy Spirit, I answer you appropriately. Otherwise, He will help me to answer you. While we are waiting for Grace to connect, does anybody has any question? No question on the chat. Dr. Wacheke, can you please say hello to the viewers? Can you please say 1 or 2 things for us? Dr. Wacheke is one of the people that started the WOW in USA and has been a blessing to us one way or the other. And because of our busy schedules, I didn't expect to see her now. So it was a privilege to see her. I think she taught us about 3-4 weeks ago. Yeah, how we can make money in our own homes during this lockdown period during the COVID, and it was a blessing to the whole body of women of the world. I just trying to see if she's still online to say 1 or 2 things while we wait for Axis CEO period from Grace. Does anybody have any, please got a bit confused with teaching you children your language. Okay, somebody said she got a bit confused from teaching your children. Does it mean our kids born outside Africa doesn't necessarily need to speak our language? No, it's not what Grace meant. Somebody asked a question, said, I got a bit confused about teaching your children your language. Yes, and she's asking, I think her main question is, does it mean that our children born outside Africa does not necessarily need to speak our language? They do necessarily have to speak our language if you can teach them. But what the Grace was saying is that sometimes we confuse them because they don't even know how to write it. And we can only speak it, that even we that are born in Africa, we don't know how to write it or read it, but we know how to speak it. In some cases, give an example from China or thereabout, she said those people can read their language and write it, but in our own cases, it's not like that. We can, most of us just hear the language, we don't know how to write it or the alphabet. So it's difficult for them, our children, not to understand our language, and telling us that we don't have to pressurize them into understanding it. Sometimes it's difficult, and we don't have to make it like that's the only best we can do for them, because sometimes when we are trying to put much pressure on them, they might get confused along the way that they will not be. So we should have to just balance the whole thing. If you have enough time, you're a full-time mom, or you always have enough time with you can take a lesson for your language for them. And if your children are very interested and they want to know, they're happy, of course, why not? they will be able to speak. But in a situation whereby some children, you don't have the time or they don't have, so don't let anybody judge you. Oh, why is your daughter not hearing Igbo? Why is your son not hearing Yoruba? Why is he not hearing Ghanaian? No, it doesn't have to hear. You don't have to if you cannot. But if you can, of course, it's a pleasure. In fact, we will always celebrate it. We'll even bring the child to come and speak it here for us. These are the things that we'll celebrate. You know, you don't have to, but you don't have to let people judge you because your child, your daughter, your son is not speaking your native language. But in a situation whereby you can help them, of course, without pleasure. God bless. My experience, somebody also wrote, Joyce, he said, my experience was that I was only advised to speak German to my kids so as to help them not to have social problem or confused. Are you African in diaspora or are you German by birth? I don't understand.
She's Africa.
Oh, you're Africa. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, okay. It's also in line with what we are actually trying to say. We are not encouraging parents not to speak their dialect to their children. We are only saying if the children are getting confused, don't be judged by a neighbor or by a relative that said, why are you not speaking? So person's child is speaking Igbo, so person's is not good, help them, blah, blah, blah. So, and we don't have to live by what people thinks or what people suggest or what people does. It's individual, you know, our life is just our own. Family are different. We have to do what works for us. So I think she was saying that when she came into here or when she started having children, she was advised that she has to speak German to the children to help it, that it will help them to get out of trouble or not to get into trouble or be confused. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so that's fine. It works for you and that's good. I speak Igbo to my children. I love them to hear, but I don't have to force it on them. So if they hear, fine. If they don't hear, fine. As long as we can communicate. That's the most important thing.
Please, can I say something?
Yes, please.
You know, concerning children, I think in this language of a thing, if a child is born and you started speaking with that child, balancing it with the language where you are, starting from an infant, I think it will help the child to grow up with it. But if you allow the child to grow and now you come up to begin to teach the child your own language, that is where it will be difficult. That is where you will even look for a teacher to come and teach them. And that is where you will confuse the child. But if you start from an infant to bring up this child, balancing it, I think it will help them. Thank you.
Yes, it is true. But sometimes, and in some cases, a single parent, in some cases, they may not have, they may not be the one training their children. They will not have that time to start teaching the children from childhood because they are using childminder. They have to work, they have to do one or two things. In some cases also the dad is working, the mom is working, and the time didn't permit them. So in that case, you should not. But if you have time, like as a mom, so it is better to start earlier if that's what you desire over your children, that you want them to speak the language. You start from infant. That's what Pastor is saying. You start from infant and bringing them up all in that sense, and they will catch up quickly. But if it is after they must have grown, it's gonna be too late. Okay, Grace has gotten to me through through phone, and she has sent the message across. He said, hi, Pastor, what can I do if your husband is always making you feel offended on the dinner table? And in some cases, it's always ending with fight because we start arguing and the children start hearing our voices and they start blaming the food. And so that's the question actually. What I will say is that one, you must, as a mom or as a woman, you must be planted. From the beginning, families were, God started procreation, or God started, after he created everything, he made man and gave him a family, made him into a family, and he asked them to prosper. So I want to prosper in life. I want to prosper in education. I want to prosper in my career. I want to prosper in things that I do in whatever capacity that you are. I think the first thing to consider is that you must be planted in a family. And it's important to know that each and every one of us comes from a family. It doesn't have to be family in this case. It doesn't really have to be husband and wife, but you have your parents, you are from a family. So God has planted us in families. So this is the only process when we say we want to doing well in whatever career we are in, whatever level of capacity, like I said, you start from there, you start building a family. Okay, coming to your question now, that doesn't mean that as a woman you have to run away from dinner table. That's my point. You also have to maintain that bond as family. You have to make it work. You just have to make it work with the help of your husband. What is it that makes you people argue? What can you do on your own side to curb the argument? Is it that you didn't cook well? Do you need to take some cooking lessons? Is it that you don't serve well? Do you need to be silent when your husband is talking? Do you need to keep quiet? Do you need to say, okay, do you need to just keep, there's something you can do on your own side and God will do the rest. And how do you get God to do the rest? Is to get him involved. God, I really want to do this because you have planted me in this family. And it's also important, referring to Genesis, permit me because the question was asked anyway. So referring to Genesis, one of the ways that Adam got lost was dinner time. When he came back from farm, the wife gave him something to eat. And that thing was what we call the apple. It was the dinner time, the communication. If it were a positive way that she obeyed, it would have been on the dinner time that he was able to have access into Adam's heart. It was also the dinner time that she had access, though it was a negative effect this time around. So that is the effect of having together dinner as a family. And Psalm 92 verse 12 is also telling us that the righteous that is being planted flourish and even give birth in old age. He said they bear fruit in old age. They that are planted in the house, not outside, not in the bedroom, not in the house together. He said they flourish. So your family flourishing, your children doing well, being strong, actualizing the promises of God has to be in a family bond. And one of the ways to actually accomplish this is dinner time. I think that's what we are bringing. And also, it is also important that to know that to be great in life and in this system, you have to be in a way that God has instituted it. We cannot break one law to catch up with the other one just because it didn't suit us. Many people that are talking to you here now, just like you had a Patricia, she didn't have like that family bond, but she now come to see the after effect and what it should have cost her. And that is why she's desiring to take the steps that she took to make it work. And after she's now beginning to realize herself, she said, let me give back to the society. That is what brought her into this platform. She started by doing a course. Do you need to do some courses, cookery or home management or economics, whatever that gives you opportunity to be able to balance the issue well? That's fine. Also, as a wife, as a mother, it is good that we'll be able to we'll be able to live our life void of offense. I think one of the things that breaks your heart is that if this is reoccurrence all the time, we have to develop the capacity to overcome offense. And whenever it arises, the offenses must come. But what capacity have you developed? And one of the ways you develop this capacity is by praying, is by reading the word of God, is by getting counseling, is by, just like Patricia said, he said, get counseling, go to whatever support that the system has put in place, get it, and there's no stigma attached to it. So develop the capacity by reading the word of God, by praying, of being able to overcome offense. When we start being offended, we have already been destroyed. When the enemy wants to get you, one of the things that he will do to you, wherever you belong, even as we speak now, one of the things the enemy will do is to get you offended. Once he got you offended, he has started destroying you. John the Baptist, if I may use him as a case study, was the greatest. He even validated the presence of Christ as being Christ. But the Bible said he came in the spirit of Elijah, which was one of the greatest as at that time. When he was arrested, instead of him to be open, not to be offended, to be open to use the mantle, to use the grace of God to get himself out, he was being caged by offense in Christ, and he started sending message. And there and then, ordinary hand took him life off. It doesn't matter the anointing. It doesn't matter the level of education. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you begin to get offended, the root of bitterness, it begins to eat you up. It's a cancer of destiny. Please, women, develop the attitude and the capacity of living above offense. And that is the reason why you walk out of your husband's table. You walk out of dinner table because you're offended and the devil has gotten his way. And if Christ happened to come then, that's a disaster. Therefore, please, 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 let us not be ignorant of the devices of the enemy. Let us not give him foothold. You don't know what is going to happen in the night. Because you were angry at the dinner table, you could not pray together anymore. And the devil can come and steal your children, God forbid. So let us be on our watch as a mother, as a watchman for our families, to make sure that we are not being taken over or being caged by offense. That's what I'm going to say now. It doesn't have to necessarily suit you. You just have to make sure you align yourself properly, make up your mind, be determined, and begin to work on yourself as a mother. There must be level, there must be a way out. There must be something. And I believe silence is the best answer that will not disappoint you. If you cannot hold your peace, and when your husband is talking, it will always end in fight, majority of the time. And we will always be at the bitter end, at the losing end. Therefore, I may advise you to look on that area. I am not judging anybody, but I may advise you to look on that area. Now you know what you want to achieve. What are the best way? Oh, the soup didn't. Oh, sorry, honey. Okay, what do you want me to do? Or something like that. Just use a soft word to calm it down. It doesn't matter. You might even be quiet. He said, okay, don't worry, there's no problem. Instead of arguing, and when you argue, the kids get involved and the offense start building up. Offense is deadly. Our time is fast spent and Grace is not back. I don't know if there's any other question. Are you happy with the question? I don't know who asked the question, if you're satisfied. Pastor Blessing, have you got something to add to what I've just said? Please do.
Really, you have already ironed it out, and what will I say?
You guys hear me?
Just like what you have said, that we should be mindful of offense because we don't know when it will happen. And also, whenever we see that things like that are coming, we have to find a way to calm it down so that it will not escalate and bring quarrel. And when the kids are there, too, it's not also good. As women at the well, as believers, I think we should be able to guide it, especially now, to avoid those things in the presence of our kids. And we pray that God will help us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think Grace is coming back. It's also important to know that when you have offense built up in you, it makes you to doubt or disbelieve what you have believed. It makes you to doubt the love of your husband. Just straightforward. It makes you to doubt if he loves you or not. It makes you to start considering other things that may not be there, and you may assume and assume wrong. It makes you to doubt those who come to the family to help you. It closes your eyes and it can begin to accuse somebody wrongly. Maybe is the person making him to think, I don't know how. And because all those things are offense that have been building up over the years. So therefore, offense makes you to doubt the love of your family, the love of your husband, and all those things are spirits of rebellion. Those are the antichrist spirit coming to eat and destroy the love and the bond of a family. Therefore, let us watch it. Let us watch it. And more importantly, as women, let us watch our tongue. I think, Mommy Stephanie, are you raising your hand?
Yes, please. There's something I also want to chip in, as regards to this. Most of the time when some of these things comes up, God is actually testing us in areas that we need to watch out.
Yes.
When maybe a husband comes up with some issues, especially during the time you are eating together, that's supposed to be, family union, family bonding and all that, something is coming up. Maybe God is testing you in the area of patience. So you have to now re-examine yourself, because you need to pass this test before you go to another level. Sometimes God is testing you in the area of self-control.
Yes.
Because if you notice that you are somebody who is always like, any little thing, you are, you are busting out, you are just, up there and all that. Some of these tests have to be coming until you realize, re-examine yourself. Actually, why is this? What can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen? Then you know that in this area you are weak. God needs you to work on those areas, and you begin to be conscious of it. Once it comes, you know how to, instead of being angry or talking back or just busting out, you just have to bring yourself, humility. That's where the submission of a woman comes in. You begin to, gently try to, ask the question of what the problem is, and you begin to apologize, even if you might not be wrong, but because you want peace in your home, and because you are imparting on these children, if there are children with you there, you are not trying to teach them how to behave, when the families are together. So we should also be careful, knowing that it's a time the Lord is teaching us something, teaching any woman that is in that situation something, and begin to learn what the Lord is actually trying to teach you at that particular point in time.
Thank you so much. Sister Patricia, have you got anything to add to that?
Man, no, please. I think you have said it all. All of you have really, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't really know what actually happened to Grace. She kept coming in and out of the platform. I don't know if there's any other questions that anybody may have for me. And while we're waiting for Grace, I still want to use this opportunity to remind all our leaders, all the zonal leaders and the executive, that we are having our meeting tomorrow, 8 p.m. And it's important that we all please attend. It is very important and a kind of compulsory, except if you have reason for not to be there. Grace is not here right now. Is there any other person that has any question?
Liz, what time is the meeting tomorrow?
8 p.m. UK time, I think, which is your own 9.
Okay.
Also, 8 p.m. UK time. Yeah. We are also trying to welcome each and every one of you who has been patient this time around, especially in this break, all of a sudden. And I want to thank our sister Patricia for the time and the tenacity to make sure that you bring the best for us, and we appreciate it. I want to thank all the zonal leaders who are here, Auntie Odochi, and Mrs. Edith Kerewi, Oluwa Bukola, and Omoye Grace, all of you, Pastor Blessing, and all of you from Chief, Port Harcourt, our chief, what's his name? I forgot his name. The patron of Port Harcourt was here earlier, but I don't know if he's still here. I want to appreciate all of you for tuning in. And this is Women at the Well. Our vision is to proactively provide services for the engagement and advancement of women. And one of the things that we also do is to bring women to learn at the comfort of their home, giving them opportunity to realize themselves. And that is self-realization, and at the same time, empowering them to take over whatever they have been their dream, that they were not able to accomplish in the past, that they can still do it, and there is nothing that is impossible. All things are possible, and everything is possible, including their own thing. As our time is fast spent, this is the end of today's program. Unfortunately, Grace is not here. I don't know if she has any other thing in her program, which I don't have access to. It's 9 o'clock.
Can I say something, please?
Yes, who is that, please?
It's Grace, Chubike's mom. I just wanted to remind you, the clock goes backwards. Like, oh no, the clock goes forwards too, because you were discussing about your meeting tomorrow. And then you said it's going to be, I just wanted to like, make sure that they don't miss late for the meeting. So it's 8 o'clock Nigerian time, UK time, not 9 o'clock Nigerian time.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for joining. I didn't even know.
It's me all the time with that name. That's me.
Yeah, God bless you, ma'am.
Bless you too much.
Anyway, that's bringing us to the end of today's show. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm so glad that you are all here. And I'm also looking forward to next week. And we're going to be having a magnificent time. Meanwhile, have a lovely Sunday. God bless you. Thank you for coming in. I may not have mentioned your name. I appreciate you all for joining. And God bless you. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, everybody. God bless you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. God
God bless you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Felicity, bye.
Bye, doctor.
Mommy Bukola, bye.
Bye.
Mr. Josephine, something, I don't know. Mr. Florence, Auntie Odochi. Hey, good evening, sir. Onyebuchi, God bless you, sir. Thank you.
How you there?
Dr. Wacheke, fine, thank you.
Greet the family for me. Oh.
I will do. God bless you. Minister Naomi, thank you for joining. I'm grateful. Bakiri School. Auntie Kate, lovely having you all. God bless you.
God bless you too.
We only have 1 minute to go, and this thing will just go off.
It's better.
Yeah.
We are finished.
Yeah, we finished.
Minister.
So I'll see some of you tomorrow for our leadership meeting and executive meeting. And please do bring something for me. I'll bring something for you too.
Okay. Is it only for UK?
All of you. Bye, everyone.